Good morning and welcome back to your weekend unboxing here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be continuing our look at the Masters of the Universe board game, The Clash for Eternia. Today we're going to take a look at the She-Ra and the Great Rebellion expansion. Now, as I said in my previous video, I was never really a big fan of He-Man back in the day, but one of the advantages to finding out about it later, not finding out, but I mean, getting more involved in it later in life, is it's actually been something that my wife and I could bond over because she was actually a big fan of She-Ra. So during the Kickstarter, they basically went over all of the Masters of the Universe properties. And, you know, it wasn't until recently that I learned that She-Ra and He-Man were actually part of a mixed shared universe. So, it's actually kind of cool to be able to have this set. My wife is very excited for me to paint it up, but that's a completely separate thing. So, with that out of the way, let's actually go in. We'll take a look at this, but before we do so, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop content, whether it's board games, miniatures, role-playing, or anything in between, and I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. So let's move over to the infamously small work table and take a look. Now, this, again, they are knocking it out of the park with the art. It very much harkens back to the original properties, the original, the original toy lines, things like that. One of the things that I think is actually kind of interesting is how the crown, for lack of a better word at the moment, on She-Ra. I actually learned at one point that that was actually a mistake. It was actually designed as a mask. You can actually see the mask portion right there on top of her head. So it was designed as a mask, but the girls in the test groups kept putting it on upside down. So that's actually why we end up seeing more art with She-Ra depicted as we see here. So just fun little bit of trivia from the Vault of Worthless Knowledge. But again, showing off a lot of the main characters. On the back, we're going to see a listing of all the contents. You can see a little bit more obvious about the mask there. But we're going to get 16 miniatures, 60 cards, and 14 tokens. So let's open this up. All right, so first off, we've got our tokens. So again, we have the hero tokens. These will be used on the character tracker as far as keeping track of the health. We've got some additional terrain and an NPC character. Let's set those to the side. All right. Let's start with our character cards. In fact, actually, we'll start with this little pack because I know it's small. All right. So we've got cards for the new minions, the NPC, and the terrain. So this is going to give you the rules for those. One thing I do like about this is basically it lets you replace, and technically even mix in with the heroes. So you could swap it out. So if you wanted to do She-Ra versus Skeletor and his allies, that's an option. You don't have to. Basically there's different options. For how to mix it. It's not just it's not just some extra characters that you have choice for. So if you want to completely swap it out, you can do so, because obviously there's no, outside of the text on the cards, there's no extra rules. They did not include any kind of a rule insert here. All right, and so we've got the AI characters again. She-Ra, Flutterina, Glimmer. Apologize if these are out of focus. Frosta, Bo, Mermista, and Perfuma. One thing I do think is kind of funny, my wife did point out she was very upset that Bo did not have his 1980s era mustache. He is clean shaven in this art, so if you were looking forward to that, sorry to disappoint. We then have the player and controller cards of everyone again, and then we have She-Ra on, what's the name? Swiftwind. I feel bad for forgetting that, because for some reason I knew it and couldn't remember it. But yes, her horse Swiftwind, which you can see they do have the mounted version of the character as well. So we'll look at that in a second. Alright, so from the little cards, obviously we've got the 3 different skills for each of the characters. They are double-sided, so you do have options, and I believe they're options. You then have the player and controller activation cards. Again, for all of the characters. This is also kind of interesting. This is in its own little tray. Not entirely sure why, but I don't know. It's very interesting because, like, normally I would be looking to get rid of the the excess packaging and try to consolidate things. But especially because I will be painting all of this, I'm actually going to save the packages. But they've also designed it to, kind of minimize the packaging, but also make it just a good storage solution as well. So I really do like that. All right, so we do have the minions. I'm going to take this out because I need a reference for these characters. All right, so these are the Bright Moon Archers, who are noticeably without bows and arrows, just laser guns. But again, they've got really good details. I think these will actually paint up really well. You do get 2 different sculpts. Looks like a male and a female version. So that's actually pretty cool. A little bit of variety on the board. Alright, so we'll go to She-Ra and Swiftwind last. So this one is Frosta. Looks like she's got a ice staff of some kind. Jagged cloak, kind of like a snowflake. But again, lots of little detail. I realize the lighting is not showing it off very well. That's one reason that eventually, once I have them painted, I will do a painted review so you can actually see the up close on the miniatures. That will take me a little while, however. Alright, we then have Perfuma with a flower gun, it looks like. Okay. But again, a lot of really good detail on these. Here is Bo. So he's got his bow and quiver full of arrows. Glimmer. There we go. That's actually a little bit better. Overall, like, just from a production standpoint, CMON has really upped their production quality. I did hear somewhere, that is Mermista, by the way. I did hear somewhere that they actually had their own production facility to make all of this. So they've obviously invested in really, really good, procedures. So we then have Flutterina. I really like the butterfly wings on this. They are textured. That's going to make it much easier to paint. All of these, for me, are going to be relatively easy to paint, mostly because I generally go with more simple paint jobs, and I'm going to kind of keep it towards the cartoon. So they're going to be more basic. I'm not going to go for realism because that's not really my style, but whatever. That is She-Ra. This is actually, I did want to point out, again, you can see that mask on top of her head. And then we have She-Ra on Swiftwind. The wings are nice and natural looking. She-Ra looks fantastic mounted up there. Overall, yeah, this is fantastic. So that is the contents of She-Ra and the Great Rebellion. My wife did get to take a sneak peek at the miniatures. She was very happy with them as well. Like I said, her biggest complaint was Bo's mustache. But overall, I think this is going to be a real interesting add-on and make for some very interesting games. But overall, kind of excited about this. So, what did you think? Have you played with these characters yet? Any that you prefer? Do they mix well with the original game? Let me know down in the comments, and come back later. We will have a review of the gameplay from the core game set, and eventually we will have some reviews of the miniatures once I get them painted. So thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate your time. And again, don't forget, down below we will have links to our social media on Facebook and Twitter where you can follow us that way. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.